Part 3 coming up right now.
Here he is, bursting out by Tarman. Tapped on the right move. The package. One last roll of the dice for Leo Barry, you star. The miracle on grass. Cyril takes a special and goes bang. Do a push up with him on top of you, Jakey. I see it. Boys kick the goal. Boys kick the goal from inside the team. If that doesn't get you off the couch at home, nothing will. Sometimes you just gotta sit back and enjoy the
All right, Jacko, let's just dive straight into the top 6. I'll kick us off with the Swans from last year.
Yep.
Some notable movements up there in New South Wales. Dawson in a trade to Adelaide for a first rounder. It was Melbourne's first rounder.
Yeah,
so enjoy like the last pick of the first round.
Yep.
And George Hewitt in free agency to Carlton.
Yep.
It was well mentioned, and I happen to know this as first-hand information. He didn't want to leave.
No.
He left purely because they were trying to make some cap space.
Yeah, yeah.
So
The Luke Parker fiasco, that whole contract stalemate.
well, they had to re-sign Parker.
Yeah.
But this is the flow-on effect of that buddy contract.
Yeah.
We all knew it was going to get touchy around that last year, and as much as Sydney supporters think it's a great contract still, it's looking good.
Yeah.
Do you know they're thinking about re-signing him?
No, I haven't heard that.
Yes, this is legit.
When was this?
During the week on SEN.
What?
Yeah.
I listened to SEN all week. I must have missed that.
They said that they could potentially see extending him by up to 2 seasons.
No.
So they're thinking about it. It's on the cards, maybe.
Veterans minimum, surely.
You'd have to. It'd be like, you've swindled us.
Yeah.
Not swindled. He did earn it at stages,
Yeah,
but he
yeah.
definitely didn't at others.
Yeah.
So, you know.
Come on.
Yeah.
No, I'm not advocating for that at all. Are you?
No.
No.
I wouldn't have thought so.
No.
Well, see this year. If you get 8 games out of him, then no.
No.
If you get 16, then maybe.
I think this year's probably a good season to end it, really. Like, they might make finals, might make a push, but at this
Well, we'll see about that.
we'll see about that. Yeah. But he's about to kick his 1,000th goal. 1,000th goal? Yeah.
Yep.
I choked on my tongue there, but
1,000.
1,000th goal. Probably not a bad season to end it on. You know, he's hit that milestone. He's possibly going to be the last to ever do it. Mm-hmm. The way the football's going at the moment, the way the game's played and coached. But re-signing Buddy at, what is he, 42? No, it feels it. It certainly feels it. No, he's probably 35.
I don't know. His liver would be 42.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. But yeah, great career. But yeah, I don't agree with that.
All right. So in terms of what they added, though, that's some big outs, Dawson and Hewitt. They got Laddams, trade from Port, which was first-round pick swaps that he was included in. So that's not bad.
It's a good get.
It's not a bad deal.
Yep.
I like that. And then they'd pick 18 in the draft, which was Sheldrick. He actually looked really good. I'm hearing really good things about him. He looks like he's ready to play inside bull, which they need.
They need it, yep.
Some new talent there. So
well, they certainly need it. I mean, Josh Kennedy looks like he's been on all sorts of anabolic steroids and substances over the summer. He looks that fit and jacked, but
he does look jacked, doesn't he?
He does look jacked. For the record, no, he wasn't on anabolic steroids or anything like that, but he looks a man possessed, and he's hanging on for his career, obviously.
Well, it's hard to see him being as good as he was in 2021.
Yeah.
And even then, he clearly lost a couple of steps.
Yeah, still adds plenty to the side, but yeah, not as much as yesteryear. But
well, I think, speaking of their 2021, I think the Josh Kennedy thing is interesting to see what Horse can do with him. He was probably Coach of the Year last year, behind Goodwin.
Yeah.
For me, John Longmire.
I totally agree with you. Yeah.
That jump was 16th to 6th.
Yeah.
Now, it's been done before. St Kilda did that.
Yep.
So it's not unique in the footy landscape. It's harder to maintain, though.
Yeah.
And we'll get to the reasons why I don't think they'll be able to. But one of the great signs was, as we talked about, Buddy being pretty healthy last year. Yep. One of the healthiest years he's had in 3 or 4.
Yep.
Only missed 1 game from round 8 onwards.
It's awesome.
It's pretty impressive,
Yep.
especially when trying to make a finals push.
Yep.
The young kids showed a lot of flashes early in the year. Goulden, Warner, those guys, they did well early on, and then as a lot of first round rookies do, or rookies in general,
Logan
drop
McDonald dropped off
They
massively.
drop off, yeah.
Lost his spot in the team and whatnot. But yeah, they all looked fantastic.
The only thing was that we got really little from them in the elimination final loss.
Yeah.
You know, they really should have had that game.
Yeah.
If they had any of the early season form that they'd had by the back end, they win that hands down.
Yeah.
So it was a little bit disappointing from them. They did lose the odd game to weaker sides. They lost a game to Gold Coast.
Yeah.
Freo.
They got pumped as well.
Yeah. Freo, Hawks, Saints. They lost to quite a few teams below them.
Yeah.
But they went 3-2 against sides that finished above them.
Yeah.
So I think...
Well, they made a meal of us at Marvel.
Yeah, absolutely. But they were good in tight losses. I mean, God, I really dislike them only because they keep winning these close games against my boys.
Yeah.
But they went 5 from 8 in games decided by under 2 goals. But that shows you how many close games they had.
Yeah.
8 games decided by under 2 goals is a lot.
Yeah.
Now, I think to sort of maybe correct some of that, this preseason talk of Heaney being in the guts, I don't really understand it.
Yeah. I honestly think you're taking away his... I think if you rely on him too much in the midfield, you're actually taking away his spark in a way. Like where he has been playing and what he does show from that sort of high half forward position and that elite goal sense he does have. I think you're taking away true attributes of his game if you reposition him more full time in the midfield.
Yeah.
I think you're going to miss that X factor he does provide up front.
Totally agree.
Yeah.
He's so good in the air.
Yeah.
And you must put a small to medium sized defender on him.
Yeah.
Because he's too fast otherwise.
Yeah. And the thing with Isaac Heaney, it's, I look at a Jake Stringer and a Toby Green. If you take them away for too long from what they're truly good at, which is quite at similar roles at their respective clubs, you don't get as much out of them.
Agreed. I do think it kind of makes sense though. If you look at their midfield, after Parker, we'll assume that Josh Kennedy can't go right in the guts for 22 rounds. So after Luke Parker, who's their next best midfielder?
Would have thought maybe a George Hewitt.
Right? Yeah. So I think they're in a bit of trouble now. Well, these are some of the midfielder names that I wrote down that they're going to need some big stuff out of. Hayward, Warner, Rowbottom, Florent.
Oh, that's concerning because I am not convinced that Florent and Rowbotham are AFL standard at times.
So
they drop off they go missing.
Yeah.
They go missing a lot.
Now, Mills, he got drafted. He was a high first round draft pick.
Rising Star winner, I think.
Always designed to be a midfielder.
Yeah. Is he a Rising Star winner?
I think he might have been.
Would have been up there, yeah.
But they've just played him across half back for so long because they had that depth. Yeah. Now it's gone. They must play him in the middle. The idea that maybe they play Heaney in the middle, well, sure, I can see where you guys are going because really not convinced about Ollie Florent.
Nah.
Too soon for Goulden and Chad Warner.
Yeah.
Far too soon. They still need to get a lot out of guys like Dylan Stevens and some other young guys that they've got on the list. So I really don't like that midfield. If they made a prelim this year, there's no way I'd bet on them. Not with that midfield.
Well, it's funny, isn't it? They could do with Tom Mitchell. No, but I'm serious.
You're not wrong.
These moves that they've made some pretty bad moves, really.
Really have. Yeah.
Like when you really think about it, they've given away a lot of talent and they've undervalued those players. I mean, Tom Mitchell goes and wins a Brownlow straight away at Hawthorn.
Straight away.
Yeah. And then, oh God, I'm looking forward to seeing the impact that Hewitt has at Carlton. I think it's going to be sensational.
Agreed.
Yeah. And Dawson and Adelaide, albeit Adelaide aren't going to be very good.
Well, let me give you some of Dawson's numbers from last year.
Yeah.
This is his rank in the team. So he's a halfback / winger, or not really a deep defender, but a ball user across halfback. He was 3rd at the Swans for contested marks, 6th for contested possessions, 5th for inside 50s. He led the whole back line in tackles.
Yep.
And he played 23 games. You've not done anything to replace that.
No.
Whatsoever. No. How and when they use Laddams will be kind of interesting. He's going to not really get a strong chance for that forward craft.
No.
It will be Buddy. It should be Heaney.
Yeah.
Papley.
Well, they're going to
Logan McDonald.
Yeah, they're going to want to get Logan McDonald going.
Sam Reid when he's fit and playing.
Yeah.
So where does Peter Laddams rank as a forward? Almost nowhere.
I'm not sure, but I mean, is he taking Hickey's spot?
No.
God, no.
Absolutely not. No, and Hickey did so well carrying on by himself.
Yeah. It was his best season, really, wasn't it?
I still would have thought Sinclair would be their backup after that.
Yeah.
In terms of ruckcraft.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, Laddams does not have much.
No.
So it's not a bad pickup because you didn't pay very much for him, but you also have a team that doesn't obviously fit him into the side week in, week out. So strange acquisition.
There's other clubs I can see Laddams being the perfect fit.
Yeah.
You know, my club probably one of them. Like Laddams would have fit in at the Bulldogs pretty nicely. I think he would have fit in at Geelong beautifully. Yeah, like those sorts of, because he would have taken Radagale's role straight away. So yeah, it's a funny one, Laddams to Sydney.
Well, I'll give you.
It's a good get. He's talented. There's no doubt. But yeah, it's just trying to configure where he plays, really.
Yeah, agreed. All right, I'll give you my prediction for them for 2022.
Hit me with that.
I've graded their draw at a B-.
Okay.
Compared to last year, it's a D+, but you've got a top 6 draw.
Yeah.
And out of those top 6s, it's probably a B-. So it's around the mark. They only have to play last year's top 4 once each. I don't understand why. That's a nice advantage. However, they've got a tough start.
Yeah.
It's GWS, Cats, then the Dogs. And they've got a really tricky block mid-season.
Yep.
They're up against the D's, Port, Bombers, and Freo. And then they get the Saints and the Dogs. That's a tough run.
It is.
That's a run of 6 games that they wouldn't have seen anything like that last year.
Yeah.
And that helped them maintain some momentum. They've got a couple of patches in their fixture now that could absolutely crush them.
Yeah.
Where they go, that was 0 from 4, or 0 from 3, and all that momentum will be gone.
Yeah.
With all that said, I think they've got a lot of room to grow. They've got a lot of 20 to 70 gamers, but now they've got far too few 150 gamers.
Yeah.
So I don't think they can, even if they keep making it, I can't see them winning finals consistently.
No.
So some of this prediction is based on some instinct. It's hard to process some of those personnel losses as translating into wins lost.
Yep.
The rejigging Heaney thing could cost you 20 goals. If Buddy plays 10 games instead of 17 or whatever, that's at least another 20 more gone. I think they'll have far too much reliance on the young talent, and I have them sitting around 5 and 7 at the bye.
Yeah.
So it's a step backwards.
It's not good.
It's a step backwards
it is.
for me.
Yeah.
I really struggle to see how they'll get more than 10 wins, so that's what I've written down. 15 wins down to 10.
Wow.
Maybe
that's significant.
Maybe they can make it 11 or 12.
Yep.
But there's no way in my mind that I can see them winning 15 games again this year whatsoever. I'll set the line at 10.5 wins. You going over or under, my friend?
10.5. I'm gonna go unders.
Oh, he's gone under.
I'm going unders.
10 wins for the Swans.
10 wins for the Swans. Yeah.
All right.
I tend to agree with you on that.
This ladder's shaping up nicely, mate. All right, you've got the team in 5th. What do you got for me?
My beloved Western Bulldogs, Bob. We finished 5th last season. It's probably the best 5th place team I've ever seen, considering what we achieved throughout season 2021.
Agreed.
Yeah. To have Adam Treloar join the club out of poor list management from Collingwood's end, $300,000 of his salary being paid by Collingwood. We only had to grab him for $600. What a luxury to add to the already formidable midfield of the Western Bulldogs. And his star power shone brightly on the first week of the season against his old mob Collingwood. He looked fantastic, and he added plenty to that midfield until obviously his injury woes continued, which was sad to see, but came back in, made an immediate impact. So on the recruiting front, fantastic to get Adam Treloar down to the kennel, a player of his stature in the game. We had 3 All-Australian players, Bont, vice-captain, and we had Jack McRae in for his 3rd in a row, I believe, 3rd in a row.
Mm-hmm. Well deserved.
Well deserved, yeah, fantastic player. And Bailey Dale.
Not deserved.
No. And Bailey Dale, his first All-Australian. I mean,
he was good.
Yeah. To touch on our star-studded midfield, it did give Luke Beveridge some headaches throughout the season. He spun a few really ridiculous magnets at times where we really didn't need to. When we were on top of our game, we were floating between 1st and 2nd with Melbourne for 20 weeks of the season. Well, 18 to 20 weeks of the season. Bringing guys in that weren't playing a lot of AFL footy, and then they were struggling. They were struggling in their position at times as well. And our ruck debacle. I don't know what Bevo has something against ruckman. He really does. I mean, we're playing Lewis Young in the ruck, Bontempelli in the ruck. I mean, does any other club put their number 1 player in the ruck ever? Like, really?
No.
Like, no. You just let him go to work.
Yeah.
You just let him. It's just frustrating. Frustrating, which it let us down at times. We got monstered in the ruck against Melbourne. Obviously, Max Gawn. Brodie Grundy monsters us every time.
Yeah.
Sean Darcy murdered us.
Yeah.
Riley O'Brien even against Adelaide, where we should be beating them by 200 points. Riley O'Brien was having a day out. So we really needed to bolster our ruck stocks coming into this season. Which we did not, which is a real concern. We went and got Hawthorn superstar Tim O'Brien, which I just whatever. Josh Bruce, I look forward to this season, but I am concerned. Josh Bruce added so much structure to the way we wanted to play our football, and I think Aaron Norton's going to be a bit of a fish out of water at times without having Josh Bruce's support down there.
What about Jamara?
He's not ready apparently.
No one's talking about him like he's even. Like they're considering he'll play every round.
Yeah, he's a number one draft pick, this kid. You know, I mean, look at the previous number one draft pick a couple of years before him, Sam Walsh. He's already a top 10 player in the competition. I know he's different. He's a midfielder. They can make immediate impacts. Key forwards do take time, but I mean, come on. Jamara Ugle-Hagan was the most touted player in the country.
I agree, but the number 2 pick, Riley Thrillthorpe.
Riley Thrillthorpe.
I mean, he played a lot of games last year and kicked a lot of goals.
He did. And he won a game against St Kilda off his own boot.
And I'm pretty sure Tex will be the centre-half forward.
Yes.
And he'll be the full forward.
Yeah.
And that's what they expect to happen. So
Yeah, which has me concerned as to who our 2 tall forwards are going into round 1, which I've got a weird feeling it's going to be Aaron Norton and a Zane Cordy.
Oh, I think it'll be Tim English.
Yeah. Zane Cordy, they're saying that they're going to play a defensive forward role, because Josh Shackey's kept his spot down back. So they're the real concerns for me when we do come across Melbourne and Port Adelaide and Brisbane. Are we going to be as good as we were last season? I just think our creme de la creme, the top talent of our team, can match it with the best. And I think we're arguably the best.
They're just all in one part of the ground, though.
Yeah. We're a bit same as those other teams have beautiful setups all over the ground. All their lines look really organised. And, I think if Aaron Norton goes down, we're in big trouble. And I think until that happens, that's when Bevo will go, oh, shit. So I do have a few concerns going into this season. Like, what can Tim English bring? Is he going to be physically stronger? Is he going to finally show that he has genuine ruck craft? As I said before, he got monstered against all these guys. And I just don't know. I mean, they're saying they're going to play him as a forward, but we're going to need to play him as a ruck. Do we bring Jordan Sweet in? All of a sudden, we're playing those 2 talls.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've got a few headaches. The Josh Bruce thing's a real headache.
Yes.
Yeah, because it affects nearly all parts of the ground. So as I mentioned before, we recruited Tim O'Brien. We also got pick 2 father-son, Sam Darcy, who's got stress fracture in his foot, so he's a while away, which is a real shame because this kid has so much talent. He was dominating the TAC Cup with Nick Dacos for Oakley Chargers. Right. Like, they were 2 men possessed, just doing their own thing. But our outs, Lin Jong, obviously injury-prone, really serviceable career at times, but just couldn't really stay on the park. Easton Wood's a massive loss, I think. Albeit he wasn't really adding a lot as far as like contributing on ground. I think it's the leadership and he's a premiership captain.
Yeah.
I think having someone of that ilk around the club, I think he brought a lot more behind the scenes than people would give him credit for. And Sam Lloyd, he's just he's replaceable. We've replaced him already. Cody Waitman looks the type to take us forward in that small forward position, pick 19 in the draft a couple of years ago. Steph Martin goes round again. It's just a matter of whether he's fit enough, whether he breaks down again or not. But every game he played, he looked really good. I really liked it. But obviously having him at the helm, can help Tim English in that ruck spot. So a few questions I pose to you, Bobby, is will this be Josh Dunkley's proper breakout year of dominance through the midfield? Do you think he gets enough midfield minutes in this midfield?
No, he already had his breakout year, man. And then you guys resigned him to being a role player.
No, I know. But is this the year where we back him in 100% of the way? No,
I don't think you've got the spot for him.
No.
He should be playing in Libba's spot, but Libba just can't do anything else.
No, one-trick pony. That's all he can. He's very good at what he does. But
Bailey Smith needs some touches. He has to get them.
Yeah.
And then clearly you want Bailey Dale and Caleb Daniel using the ball off half back, which means Lockie Hunter, you don't want using the ball off half back as much anymore.
Yeah.
He might be a defensive mid, but he's a midfielder.
Yeah.
So
this is the structural imbalance of the team. We're too top heavy in the middle, and we're completely shrunk at both ends.
Yeah, I think you sort of lack the book. It's hard to Dunkley will have a good year, but it will be one of those years where every other team goes, well, he gets 6 more touches and maybe average 1 more goal if he was at our team.
Yeah.
And that would be very true.
Yeah. Going to be imprinted in his brain.
Around. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm not going to sit here as one of those typical Bulldog supporters that now, he's inseparable friendship with Adam Treloar will keep him at the club. I don't think it will. If he gets a better offer, like it sounds like at Adelaide...
Someone's shoot has changed.
No, if he gets... I'm concerned about Josh Dunkley, because if he gets a better offer, which we're hearing through the pipeline that 2 Adelaide clubs are very interested in him. Well, he's interested to go to South Australia for personal reasons. He's got his new partner. I mean, he's going to get...
Can't he just deflate her and take her anywhere?
You're unbelievable. This kid looks like Zac Efron, mate. He's not struggling. Let's get to the business end of this. Now, we lost by 74 points in a grand final, which we led by 3 goals halfway through the third quarter.
Yes.
It was an avalanche.
Yes.
No one saw it coming. Luke Beveridge certainly didn't, because he didn't have another plan.
Agreed.
It was a disaster after halfway through the third. Bont had one. He kicked that ridiculous third goal. He'd had 20 touches by then. 1 hand on the Norm Smith medal, and it all came crashing down. Does this have a flow-on effect mentally through this season, or do you think Bevo and the professionalism and the sort of the age demographic of our team, the maturity levels, do you think we get over it and we push on? Because quite frankly, I do see us finally solidifying a top 4 spot this season. I really do.
Oh, me too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Me too.
I think we're clearly strong because of what we've seen. It's pre-season. I've liked what I've seen from Brisbane. I think we're clearly the 2nd seed going into season 2022. But I've got us finishing top 4, if not top 2. With the draw we've got as well. I mean, we start with Melbourne. It's an amazing first game of the season. We're going to get a lot of answers very early, and then the next 4 games
are very winnable.
Very winnable. Like if we beat Melbourne, we could be 5-0.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and then you're the favourite.
And then we're the favourite all of a sudden. Yeah, and we're under the most pressure and whatnot that comes along with that. I have us locked in for 17 wins this season. That's a 2-game improvement on last year. So I'm setting my line at 17.5, Bob. Are you taking it?
18 wins. I'll say no, for the simple fact that...
I thought you'd say no. I should have probably set the line at 16.5.
Yeah, 16.5 is far more difficult because it's very easy to see how you win 1 more game than what you did last year.
Yeah.
It's harder to see how you win 3 more. Because the draw can't be that much easier. Like, you're still going to have... I imagine you've got repeat games against Melbourne, maybe a repeat game against Port, and maybe even Brisbane. Like, you're going to play a couple of those top 4 teams twice.
So we played Melbourne twice. Yeah.
So if those coin flips just have to go your way, like, you've got to split them at a bare minimum. So if you replay 3 top 4 teams twice, they're all must-wins when you the replay. That's just to get you to 18 games. And then at some stage you'll drop a bad one.
Yeah.
I think you will. Every team does.
Yeah.
1 or 2. So I think 17's good. I'll take under, but I think 17 is definitely what you'll get to.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, we saw it at the end of last season. We were 2nd and then we finished 5th as a result of, we fell off the face of the earth. We lost to you guys at Marvel.
Yeah,
and then
we should have had 2 more wins.
We got, albeit I think it was about 20 to 30 points, we got pumped by Hawthorn. Hawthorn.
Yeah.
It was a disgrace what I watched that day. Like, that was the only game of the season I was really angry. Like, super angry.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then Port Adelaide, I mean, gee whiz. We were incredible and we still lost by like 2 points.
Yeah, that was gutting.
It was really gutting. And then obviously Melbourne, not Melbourne, Brisbane went and pipped West Coast in the final minute to finish 4th on percentage. But we still got to the grand final anyway, so it was a good season. I think we can go. I think we could go 1 better this year.
I tend to agree with you. Let's move on to another team who I think might go 1 better. Brisbane finished 4th last year. In terms of the list changes, Birchall's retired, and then they've just got a bunch of random delistings. They're not essential players.
Yep.
No one will really pay any attention to that.
Yep.
The Inns, not a hell of a lot going on here. They still had their first-round pick, so they've got Darcy Wilmot with pick 16, and they got Darcy Fort via trade from Geelong as a backup ruckman, which is not the worst idea, but not the best backup replacement either.
Not ideal for Geelong.
Not ideal for Geelong.
Oh, we'll just give away ruckmans when we need them.
Yeah, it's quite odd from Geelong.
We'll get to them.
Yeah, we'll touch on them shortly. In terms of Brisbane's year, I think they realised a lot of their potential. And despite losing Hipwood late, they still looked very dangerous at the pointy end.
Yes.
And they did all this with Neil being very underdone for most of the year, not looking anything like the Lachie Neil we know. They had a league best percentage, 15 wins, but they started the year 1-3. So these guys really, I remember earlier in the year, Fags just started spinning the magnets. All of a sudden, McCluggage was one of the best midfielders in the comp.
Yeah.
You know, he's just like, if I'm not getting production out of Lachie Neil, I'll just flick this here and we'll just tweak that there and we'll just do that. And he did. He got a lot out of Bailey, McCluggage, and those guys. Starcevic.
I mean, he had rolling all Australian selections. Starcevic.
Look, they were one of the healthier teams. They had 14 players play 21 games or more.
Yeah.
Danaher played every game. Like, how lucky do you have to be to have Joe tissue paper hamstring Danaher go and play every single game? Like, they either have an immaculate...
Because osteitis Danaher played 2 games in 3 years for you guys, didn't he? It felt that way.
Osteitis Danaher. Look, at least it only cost us $1.5 million.
Oh, gross, mate.
The other thing is, like we talked about, that they have this young talent that has done well and taken ownership of their role, but their vets didn't slip at all. Zorko was great.
Yeah.
Rich was amazing, as always. Mitch Robinson kept getting good. Marcus Adams. It looks like a foolish decision to have gotten rid of him now.
Yeah, mate.
He's a good player.
Because he looks like he could win Mr. Olympia.
He is a big, strapping lad, isn't he?
He really is.
Look, they couldn't mix it with Melbourne or the finals, and your boy snuck past them, but it feels like they're really not far away.
No.
Really close for me. They didn't. One of the things, though, they didn't suffer from a lot of the COVID rescheduling like the other teams did. They still played 14 games in Queensland.
Yeah.
That's very nice. So they did get a little bit of a leg up there. So couple that with their really healthy list, and they just made the top 4.
Yeah.
Famously in round 23 at the death. So they did have some soft losses. Hawthorn, St Kilda, Sydney, round 1 last year.
Oh, pumped.
So you'd have to think that you'd
Yeah.
hope that they correct some of that.
Yeah.
And they do have an incredibly potent forward line even without Hipwood.
Yeah.
Charlie Cameron, Danaher, Zach Bailey, McCarthy, McStay, who can take a mark.
Nakai Cockatoo looks fit.
And he's fit, so he's going to add something in there. And I think the backline mix is the same. Harris Andrews, Starcevic, Marcus Adams, and Daniel Rich. These are 2 nice forward and defensive 60s. These are great,
It's awesome.
great bookends, these two. So add that to their midfield that I think will improve by virtue of Lachie Neil just being a slightly better midfielder than what he was last year.
Yeah, for sure.
So I can see them improving around the ground, all over. And they get the chance to add Cam Rayner into the mix. You know,
what a luxury.
They got a lot out of Devon Robertson last year.
Yeah.
So there's every reason to think that they should improve and get a genuine 30-player list, a 30-player amount of depth.
Yeah.
Where if they lose 1 or 2 injuries, it's not going to be the worst thing in the world. They'll get Hipwood back before finals. Probably get a few games into him before finals if everything works out with his knee. But having looked at their fixture, again, similar to Sydney, I would give it about a B-. It's what you'd expect of a top 4 fixture. It's not terrible. Half of their games this year against last year's top 8 are at home. So they're not really getting crushed by the amount of travel that they might have to do. And with not a lot of changes, you'd have to think that Fagan and some of the Brains Trust have intentionally not made a ton of changes in terms of going after free agents or anything like that, because they can see a pathway towards making a grand final.
Yeah.
Everything rests on them going 1-1 when they play Melbourne twice.
Yep.
They get to play Port at home and the Dogs at home. So if they can turn those 2 games against Melbourne, the games at home against Port and Dogs into 3-1,
Yep.
they have genuine top 2 potential.
Yeah.
I suspect that a slightly harder schedule than they got last year and maybe a little less injury luck might mean we see the same 15-win season, which would still get them around to top 4. But I'm going to lean towards saying that they've improved.
Yeah.
So I'm going to set the line at 15.5 wins.
Yeah.
Taking overs or unders, mate?
I'm taking overs. I agree with everything you've said. I think, they stay healthy and, add Cam Rayner back into the mix. I mean, Nakai Cockatoo stays fit and I mean, as you touched on, how potent that forward line is and the back line. if they stay healthy enough and keep that synergy and that balance on field, yeah, they're very likely to improve, and they're actually quite a frightening looking team. They really are. And Lachie Neale looked really good in the preseason hit out. He looked back to his best. So if they can get him back to his best, and add that with Jared Lyons and everything, and I mean they're a Rolls Royce in the midfield if they all stay fit. So yeah, I'm absolutely taking overs, Bob.
All right, very good.
All right, Bob. Geelong. They lost the prelim final, shock horror, unfortunately for them, by 83 points to Melbourne. It was a no contest about 5-10 minutes in. Max Gawn was running around like he was Wayne Carey.
Oh, wasn't he?
Oh, it was unbelievable. Albeit apparently Geelong had bit of a gastro outbreak in the camp leading up to it, but I mean, come on. They just could not even come close to matching it with Melbourne. It was a foregone conclusion practically before it started. Another really wasted finals campaign from Geelong. They got pumped. They got outplayed and beaten first week of finals, losing to Port Adelaide at Adelaide Oval. Quite convincing win from Port as well at Adelaide Oval, and then they just really scraped across the line against GWS. They
did,
albeit they led most of the game. They really allowed GWS back into the contest, and for a moment there, it looked like GWS were going to run over them.
Yep.
So that would have been they were really close to straight sets. Which doesn't shock me. I mean, they're a great home and away side. We know this, but they do get that GMHBA home factor. It's massive, massive advantage for them. And GWS being the only team to go down there and beat them, my club gave it every shot and lost after the siren to Gary Rowan's heroics at the end there. His one decent kick of the season. But, Geelong concern me. But we've been saying this for the last 5 years, haven't we, really? It feels that way.
Defying the odds team.
Yeah, where they've re-signed Chris Scott, which I found interesting. So he's signed a 2-year extension. I thought the end of last season would have been a good time to say goodbye to him. Stephen Wells, list manager, said goodbye to them. And they've just brought in Steve Hocking as their new CEO after Brian Cook's incredibly successul tenure. So I thought it was probably a good time for Chris Scott to make way for someone else.
Agreed.
But no, they've backed him in for another 2 years. It's had mixed reviews from Geelong supporters. I think Geelong supporters were crying out for change in the coach's box as well, because they got to finals again, and didn't do anything with it. Albeit they lost the grand final, they were halfway. They were up half time against Richmond and got run over in 2020. But yeah, another wasted finals campaign. So there's real concerns for me for this season because everyone bangs on about how old their list is. It's a year older again.
Agreed.
And they really haven't added much, which I'm getting to now. They've added Segler, who's 30, as a ruckman. Tyson Stengel, delisted free agent from Adelaide. He's got plenty of X factor, but he doesn't have enough to change the fortunes of. He's not going to come in and make an incredible impact. Their small forward stocks might kick a few more goals, which they just weren't kicking goals last year. No. Brad Close, Luke Dalhouse doesn't look AFL standard.
Not anymore.
At all anymore. I mean, he was such an exciting young prospect back in the day, but yeah, it really doesn't look AFL capable at the moment. And then, Brian Myers injured going into this season. He's a worry as well. His kicking's really questionable at times. I mean, that round the body sort of thing. But yeah, they traded Jordan Clark, so they've lost a really talented youngster, which they never really gave a proper go. Charlie Constable has left. They delisted Charlie Constable.
Yeah, and not long ago, Murdoch as well. They've let go of so many of their backup midfielders that should be at 100 games or so.
Yes, yeah. And then they go and delist a favourite son of the club's son, Oscar Brownless, without even giving him a go.
Very odd.
It's strange. It's really strange. And then the retirements of Josh Jenkins and Lachie Henderson. So Lachie Henderson was clearly done. Yeah, he was a fish out of water, really, in the final series. And Josh Jenkins joined a club who had signed Jeremy Cameron to join Tom Hawkins in the forward line. He was never getting a go.
No.
Good on him. He had a good career at Adelaide. That's for sure. And Lachie Henderson was really good when he moved out of the forward line and became a backman at Geelong.
This is true.
So both really respectable careers. But they're gone. Joel Selwood's... I just don't know if he has what it takes anymore. I just think he's battered up, he's bruised, he's done it all. Incredible career, but I mean, relying on him still to play. I mean, I think they're going to play him off half back, But yeah, they're going to rely on him at times to go in the middle. I just don't know if
Yeah.
he's up to it against these midfield, like the Melbourne midfield, the Doggies midfield,
I-
Brisbane's midfield. They're going to really struggle against the upper echelon of the AFL this season.
Especially in the back half of the year once
Yeah.
they get tired.
Yep.
I can't
Yep.
see it maintaining any sort of high level, like a elite AFL play. I think those years are definitely gone from him.
Yeah, and then, Patrick Dangerfield's in the same category as Nat Fyfe. I mean, his body's starting to break down. We've seen the best of Patrick Dangerfield. They're still going to rely on him a heap. Mitch Duncan started getting, the injuries have started for him too. PCL, he missed half the season last year.
Yep.
Dangerfield with suspension, then comes back. He does his syndesmosis, and then I think he hurt his shoulder as well. It's a real concern for mine because they need those boys fit and playing each and every week to really compete.
Agreed.
Isaac Smith proved a fantastic pickup. He was electric last
Really
season.
was a great pickup.
At the start, we're thinking, gee, Sean Higgins, what a pickup. But what the hell? What the hell has happened to Sean Higgins? I mean, they don't really have the perfect position for him. And he's, off half forward, he just didn't really give much.
No.
And then he kept getting injured. So, gee whiz, Bob, this could be the year. I think it is the year where they finally slump. I think it really is. So they had 16 wins last year. They've got 9 games at GMHBA, which really helps this season. And a lot of them are against the expected bottom 10 teams.
Right.
So they're wins. You can put them in as wins, which will get them, I think, to 14 wins this season. But yeah, obviously, I'm sure, I've written down here, I'm sure they'll fool us again. I did write that 2 weeks ago. The more I think about it, I'm not sure if they'll fool us again. I think this could be the slump. I do still have them. 14 wins gets you in finals. It certainly does.
Of course.
But top 4, I don't think so. I don't think they're going to play top 4 footy this year. But yeah, Geelong, what an incredible club to sustain the success they've had. They've left, as we mentioned with West Coast, they won that 1 premiership. They could have had 2 or 3 premierships with that team. I think Geelong had a premiership with this team, and it's gone.
Agreed.
That chance is gone. 2020 was their best opportunity for it, and they got pipped at the line. So, a few questions though to wrap up Geelong. Big Sav, what do they do with Asava Radigalea? I mean, do they really need him? Do they really need him? Like, do they swing him down back? Do they try and swing him down back to help out Jack Henry and Tom Stewart? I mean, they've got. Oh, Tom Stewart, he is special, mate.
He's
but he's going to
good.
need help down there with Henderson gone. Jed Buse is injured, I believe, and
Yeah, they're committed to DeConing down there.
yeah, DeConing. Yeah, he needs a haircut, that's for sure. His brother got that. His brother got that memo at Carlton. He looked good, but yeah, DeConing at Geelong. I'm just not sold on that. And Segler. I mean, where does that leave Stanley? Does Segler even get in the team? And what happens with Reece Stanley? This is ugly, mate. I don't like it. The more I think about it.
So what are you setting the wins line at?
13.5, Bob. You going unders or overs?
Controversially, I'm going to go under.
You're going to go under.
I watched that
Fair enough too.
NAB Cup game against Gold Coast, and they couldn't run with them.
Slow. Guthrie was the only quick in the team.
And he
really.
racked them up.
Yeah.
Highest possession getter for them.
Because he's a gun.
He is good, and he's not one pace like the rest of
No.
them. Now, maybe Dangerfield gives it, was taking it easy. Maybe Selwood was taking it easy. Higgins played in that game as well. I don't think they had Duncan, Menengola. They've got some other guys there, but the Suns were walking it through the middle at times.
Yeah.
Walking it through.
Yeah.
And they let go of 31 scoring shots, that Cats back 6.
Yeah.
Against the Gold Coast Suns.
Yeah.
So real danger signs. I know it's a practice game, but if any of you out there watched it, I think it's real alarm bells for Geelong this year.
Yeah. Do you think Tyson Stengel adds any X factor
No.
to the team? No.
Well, Adelaide gave him a shot, and he didn't add any X factor there for me.
No, well, he couldn't behave himself off the field. He is living with Eddie Betts and his new development coach, Eddie Betts. So hopefully that changes his outlook on life and the way he carries himself. But yeah. And last but not least, I'm going to go out, and this is a big statement, possibly a big statement, but I believe this will be Chris Scott's last season as coach. I think if we do think they're going to go unders on the 13.5, I think they're going to mutually part ways because they're going to have to start rebuilding pretty quickly. And they're not a team that want to bottom out like Hawthorn. They're going to be a team that want to be around the middle section of the ladder and a fast rebuild and improvement. But honestly, it doesn't even look like they're going to get the opportunity for that with all the kids they've lost. So I think Chris Scott, this will be his last season as coach. He's a premiership coach, so congratulations. He took over a powerhouse.
Yeah.
It's Bomber Thompson. It was Bomber Thompson's team, but it's still next to his name. He's a premiership coach.
That's true.
A fantastic career as coach there, but I'm calling it this will be his last year.
I like it. Yeah, I think it's a good call, mate. Up next, we've got Port Adelaide. Finished second last year. One of the best years they've had in recent memory. I appreciate that they finished first as well, not that long ago. But last year was stitching together a lot of the acquisitions they got, guys in very specific roles. Like they got the most out of players like Carl Amon. Alir looked special.
Awesome.
And the development of... They did miss a lot of games from guys like Zach Butters, but the development that is on offer there means that they very well could become a better team. Now, their outs, in terms of list profile, Rockcliffe has retired, and as we talked about before, Laddams got traded to Sydney. They delisted Hamish Hartlett. I remember when that guy was like a... You know, he was the guy you wanted in your midfield. He was strong, he was tough, he was fast. Delisted. Yeah. It's funny how fast some players can fall off.
It felt harsh for me. But then the direction they're going, it sort of makes sense when you do think about it.
Yeah, I can see why. Maybe there's some stuff behind the scenes.
But what a great player he has been for them.
Yeah, he was quite good.
Yeah, I mean, your club wanted him. I remember years ago.
Oh, yeah.
Multiple clubs wanted him.
The Hammer.
Yeah, the Hammer.
Now, in terms of their ins, pick 12, Josh Sin. Big raps on this kid. Looks like he'll play straight away.
Yep.
And then Jeremy Finlayson via trade from GWS. And they picked up Trent Dumont that in the rookie draft, so essentially for nothing, that North just delisted. Now, that kind of makes sense, Dumont in, Hartlett out.
Yeah.
You've seen what you've seen everything you're going to see from Hamish Hartlett, so add Trent Dumont and see what they can do there. I think they have been criticised a fair bit for their drafting and recruiting in the postseason. They moved Laddams to go up 4 spots in the draft.
Yeah.
Then they traded a future second to elevate 2 more spots just to get Josh Sin.
Yeah.
That's very risky trading. Yeah. You essentially
giving up an awful lot for this kid.
You let go of 2 players
yeah.
to move up 6 spots in the draft just to get this kid.
Yeah.
So I hope this works out for them, because if it doesn't, they might be really regretting this trade and draft period in a few years to come. Finlayson for a future third, though, is not
fair enough.
Bad, and
it's for family reasons as well, so it's a win-win.
Probably roughly what he's worth. I know he's had a bit of hype, but I don't know if he's worth much more than a third, to be honest. No. I struggle to see how he pairs well with Charlie Dixon.
Yeah.
He's not a terrible forward, Jeremy Finlayson, but it doesn't really feel to me off the cuff that their game styles would complement each other. Whereas when you guys added Josh Bruce, I thought, I can see how that would work.
Yeah.
And then Aaron Norton comes along. You can see how they can play at different parts within the forward line.
Yeah. They've got to think about Todd Marshall and Mitch Georgiades as well.
Well, Mitch Georgiades is the one. I think he's a kid that could break out. Yeah. I think he could do something this year in a big way. But especially if they keep getting unlucky with injuries to Fantasia, which is almost a guarantee, right? So they need to get a fair bit out of Motlop. Robbie Gray's pretty much at the end.
Yeah.
But he can still provide a little something. But Fantasia, Motlop and Robbie Gray, in the forward line in terms of usage, they get replaced by Finlayson, Butters, Rosie, those types of guys once they're fit and they stay on the park. They did get a good return from Willem Drew as well. He was the other one I picked up on last year. I thought Willem Drew was a decent footballer.
Absolutely.
Didn't get a lot of opportunity, and when he did, more than earn his spot in the side week in, week out. In terms of the win-loss that they had last year, they failed to beat other top 4 teams all year.
Yeah.
Until round 23.
Yeah.
Which really tells you the story of their season. They beat every team below them, essentially, and couldn't beat any of the teams around that mark.
Yeah.
Somehow that got them to second.
Yeah. So it's remarkable.
It talks about a really consistent year.
Yeah.
And that's noted in the fact that they produced a Brownlow medalist.
Yeah, yeah.
And then, as you talked about earlier, they punished Geelong in the finals.
Yeah.
Because Geelong just didn't have the legs to go with them. However, not turning up against the Dogs is something that I think will haunt them now. That's a couple of really bad prelims in recent years.
Yeah.
And even stretching a little bit further back, this is a team that hasn't handled bad finals losses well.
No.
They usually regress quite far. I think the group is different now.
They were pathetic in that prelim.
They were very pathetic. They just, so many people said it, they just didn't come to play.
No.
Whatsoever. And they just got lapped. Like, get out of the stadium, guys. Just pack your bags and go home.
Yeah.
Because you
the silence was deafening in the crowd, wasn't it?
Totally agree.
Jeez. I loved it.
Now, in terms of what they're capable of this year, I think there's a lot of hype around Butters, and like we spoke about, Sin looks like he'll get games straight away. All right, in terms of what they're capable of in 22, their draw is actually quite good. I've graded it as a B.
Nice.
Not a shocking draw for a prelim finalist. They play both Melbourne and your boys at home early.
Yeah.
They get a little bit of a softer finish to the season as well if they're looking to cement top 4 again.
Yeah.
Pies, Tigers, Dons and Crows are their last 4 rounds, which is nice. They play Melbourne.
Beautiful.
In Alice Springs.
Yeah.
And they get to play the Saints in Cairns.
Yeah.
So if they can snatch 2 wins there on what should be relatively neutral territory, as opposed to having to play at the MCG or Marvel, that's going to help bolster their win-loss this year in quite a big way.
Yeah.
They play 3 games at the MCG only, and they play 1 at Marvel.
Oh.
Which is not great for them because they're 8-2 there out of their last 10.
Yeah.
They like playing Marvel, and they haven't got a chance this year at all, really, to go and do any damage there. There's lots of reasons that I think that they could go forward, but when I think about going forward in terms of win-loss, and I think, can Port Adelaide win 18 games? I don't think so. I don't think they can.
It's interesting.
It feels
I tend to agree with you. Yeah. It's hard to fathom.
Far too high.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say that they don't. Their benchmark, though, is not win-loss. It's making a grand final.
Yeah.
You know, you can't be making prelims, finishing first, finishing second, and not make grand finals.
And Ken Hinkley's feeling the heat from his own as well.
Oh, dear. Yeah, Koshi really puts the heat on him nearly every season.
Yeah.
So I'm worried about how that could... I mean, he had the heat on him at some point last season.
That's crazy, isn't it?
And they've won...
halfway through the year.
17 games. It's mental.
Yeah.
Now, that said, I'm going to say that they have a slight step backwards this year.
Yeah.
I still think it's likely top 4. It's definitely still top 6.
Yeah.
But I'm going to set the line at 15.5 wins. You going over or under, mate?
So I find them fascinating. I think this is the hardest line you've set for me. I really do. So 15.5. Am I taking unders or overs? I am going to take overs, but not with a great deal of confidence. I think they'll sit around that mark.
Yeah.
And as you mentioned, the lack of games in Melbourne, that's a real concern because they're going to have to, if they want to get it done, we're outside of I think we're past the COVID, bubbles and everything like that. I think if they're going to win finals, they're going to have to come to Melbourne and win them now. They're not going to get a home prelim. If they own the right to get a home prelim, so be it. But yeah, if they have to come to the MCG and play Melbourne or the Bulldogs in a prelim, I don't know if they can get it done. So I'm going to take overs just because they still are a decent team, and I really like the balance of their team as well. I think they've got a nice balance. And I think some of their younger kids showed a bit of promise last year. Like Riley Bonner looked okay at times. Miles Bergman looked okay at times. Like, I like those kids. And if Orazio stays fit, that'll really help them going forward as well. So I will take overs, Bob. Yeah, but not with a great deal of confidence, as I said. Well,
speaking of teams that you do have confidence in, lead us in to the number 1 team from last year.
Okay, look, so Melbourne, Bob. The Premiers, and rightfully so. It was unbelievable. What an unbelievable team they were last year. They've come from 9th to a dominant home and away and finals. Like an incredible season. I honestly think it's better than... I think it was a better premiership than any of Richmond's, to be fair, because of the sustained success over the season. They had minor little drop-offs. So they dropped Queen's Birthday to Collingwood, but we mentioned that when we were talking about Collingwood. That was Buck's last game. The footy gods always deliver for them on their last, on coaches' last days or, club greats' last games. They always seem to get it done. This is a team that finished with 17 wins, 4 losses and a draw, and that draw was against Hawthorn. So that was a game they should have won as well. So we're looking at a team that really should have won 19 games. Yeah, they just had a great run with injury. They didn't really lose any, apart from Adam Tomlinson, who did his knee. They got really lucky. So lucky. Gawn, Petrarca and Oliver were able to play the whole season. It was unbelievable.
Makes a big difference.
Yeah, it was unbelievable. And they got the best out of Bailey Fritsch. What an incredible season for a medium-sized forward. Like, it was amazing. I enjoyed watching him.
And they weren't even forced to play Ben Brown for large parts of the season.
No, they didn't even need him. Nah, and Ben Brown is a gun key forward. And when you you're in a good spot when you don't necessarily need him.
Agreed.
And then Lever and May, unbelievable. Both All-Australian. And then, just they're role players. They're role players with amazing. James Harms had a really good season. Alex Neil-Bullen for mine was awesome. He was electric at times. It was really good. And then they got the best out of, that Jake Bowie. I think his 9th game was the premiership, and he's a premiership player.
Yeah, he looks great.
He looks great. So, yeah. I'm going to keep this short and sweet. They had 5 All-Australians. The All-Australian captain was Max Gawn, and rightfully so. Unbelievable. So they're ins. They got Van Ruin, pick 19. I've heard big raps on this kid. So we'll wait and see with him. But, Luke Dunstan, what a nice little luxury.
Great depth.
Oh, St Kilda, what are you thinking?
Crazy.
This guy is 116 games into his AFL career over 8 seasons. This guy is crying out for a go. Has he gone to the right club for his go? I don't know, but this is amazing list management from Melbourne because they identified how lucky they were last season. They've identified a player that can immediately come in and play an inside midfield role. If unfortunately a Petrarca or an Oliver go down with injury, or Viney.
Or a Viney, yeah.
Or a Viney. So Luke Dunstan's an amazing get, in my opinion. Neville Jetta and Nate Jones retiring. Nate Jones was a heartbreaker for me. That guy went through more shit than most in an AFL career. He was at the worst team by a country mile for a good portion of the best years of his career. He was a superstar of the competition. He knocked back offers from the likes of Hawthorn, and I believe Geelong were pretty interested in him as well. To stay at that club, the loyalty and everything, and the way he led it through the darkest stages of their existence. So my hat's off to him. Just such a shame he wasn't in the best 22 come the success that they had last year. As touched on, if they can back it up and stay healthy, which is really hard to do, I do feel like this season they will face more challenges with injuries. I still think they're by far good enough to make sure that they don't slip away. These guys are a bona fide premiership favourite for mine still. I think they can go back to back.
Agreed.
I have them winning 16 so I've written down 16 to 18 games. So they won 17 last year. I think they can win 18 games with the depth that they've added with Luke Dunstan, because if they lose Viney or Petrarca, they've got someone that's ready-made, ready to go. I think that they're not going to be really heavily affected. They're going to be really heavily affected if they do lose a Stephen May or a Jake Lever for a long portion of the season.
Yeah.
But Tom Petty's shown heaps.
Yep.
Christian Salem, arguably, I think, he was All-Australian as well.
So fantastic.
Amazing.
Fantastic year.
Amazing. So, they can definitely win it again. They definitely can win it again. And I've, you know what? I'm going to say they're going to win 18 games. So that's a 1-game improvement on last year. And I'm going to set the line at 17.5. So half game over what they won last year. I'll set the line at 17.5, Bob. Are you taking overs or unders?
I think they could go as high as 20 wins. I'm taking overs.
Amazing. I love it.
Yeah,
that's what we're here for. We like this. This is really good, Bob.
I think, like you spoke about, they've added some depth in there. And the luxury of not having to play Ben Brown because Tom McDonald was having such a good start to the year.
Yeah.
Luke Jackson should get better.
Yeah.
Jake Bowie should get slightly better.
Yeah.
It's hard to
How
see.
did I forget to mention Luke Jackson, man?
Right?
Wow.
And now it's just it's the best ruck duo in the league, probably, because now all of a sudden these two guys kick goals too.
Yeah.
Now, they needed to because you weren't playing a dominant tall forward.
Yeah.
But now Ben Brown's made his way in there.
Yeah.
And I don't think he's about to make his way out again.
Yeah.
He'll have that synergy with his Melbourne midfield now. He'll go back to kicking goals, is my opinion. His body looks a bit cooked, but I think that, they had draws and losses to shocking teams. Just out of the blue. I think they can correct that. I really do.
Yeah, I think they'll take them more seriously this year.
So it comes down to, can they beat the Dogs twice? Can they beat Port twice? Whichever teams they happen to be playing twice, can they go 2-0 in a lot of those contests? And I think the answer is probably yes.
Yeah.
Their losses will only come against top 8 teams for the whole year, is my prediction.
Yeah.
Which means none of those random,
Adelaide, Hawthorn,
we lost
Collingwood.
Queen's birthday again. That's not happening anymore. Yeah. There is no Nathan Buckley exiting the club to propel Collingwood in that sort of emotional way.
Yeah.
And it's not Anzac Day.
Yeah.
It's not any team can win it. The best team wins Queen's birthday.
Yeah.
That's what happens.
Yeah.
So I think they fix so many of those mistakes.
Yeah. I love it, Bob. I love it. I think they can too. Absolutely. I've got two. As a football fan, I'll take my Bulldogs hat off and everything. Christian Petrarca's Norm Smith medal winning performance was one of the greatest individual things I've seen in my 28 years.
Oh,
40 disposals and 3 goals.
Massive.
It was unbelievable. And dare I say, Bob, he's a White Friars boy. Incredible. So I took my Bulldogs hat off grand final night as much as my heart was breaking in front of me. I've tipped my hat. That was unbelievable.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. And what also I loved about Melbourne's premiership drought winning win was that Neil Danaher was here to see it.
Yeah, it was fantastic.
That's amazing. So, albeit the heartbreak of Nate Jones not being able to play, the fact that Neil Danaher was still with us to see it is enormous for football, and I loved it, every minute of it. And obviously, for selfish reasons, I hope that they don't go back to back. But God, they're good, Bob. They will. They can.
They definitely can.
They definitely can. So yeah.
Well, that brings us to the ladder. So I'll read them out for you, mate. The top 4 in order: Melbourne, Bulldogs, Lions, and Port. Happy with that?
That's exactly what I had in mind. So, and this is based off our win-loss and line and everything.
Correct.
Yeah.
The next 4 to make up the 8 in order: Geelong, Essendon, Richmond, GWS.
I don't mind it, but I'm going to go out and make a big call here. I think if anyone replaces Port Adelaide in the top 4, I think it's your mob. I think Essendon could be ready. I think you guys are flying if you stay fit. Your team could be anything. I'm really excited for your team. I really think and I'll get criticised for saying that, because anyone who doesn't support Essendon, fucking hate Essendon. Fuck Essendon, blah, blah, blah.
Not a lot of love.
Not a lot of love.
Fair enough.
Yeah, which is fair enough. But I think they could be anything. They're a really exciting team. So if anyone's replacing Port Adelaide, and personally for the record, I think I'm swapping Geelong and Essendon's positions there. I think Essendon can finish 5th.
Sure.
But other than that, I'm happy with that.
The thing about the top 8 is there's usually more than sort of one change. At the moment, we really only have Richmond creeping in to change.
And I've got
top
question
8.
marks about Richmond and GWS.
Yeah, so GWS is the other team, and I think there's a raffle between the Bombers and GWS to drop out as well.
Yeah.
Now, we do look like we should take a step forward, but if all of a sudden we took a step
I'm being
back
bullish here.
and it was 10 wins and we finished 10th, I wouldn't be that surprised.
Yep.
It's happened to so many teams. Obviously, St Kilda last year. There are top 8 changes, usually more than one per year.
Oh, your modesty's so attractive.
Well, yeah, we do. We just look like a likely candidate. Give us...
Well, history tells you that, doesn't it?
Give us 50 more games together and we're going to be a force.
Yeah.
But, can we fast track it at the same rapid pace that we did last year? The answer is probably no. But yeah, I'm huge raps on us and I think we can improve.
Yep.
All right, so just outside of the 8, the next 4, we've got St Kilda, Fremantle, Sydney, and then the Pies. I actually like that.
I like that too.
I like that block. It should be really competitive.
Yeah.
And all those teams should have a chance to make finals.
Yeah.
And then we get to find out if they're actually good enough.
Yeah, yeah.
The bottom 5 consists of Gold Coast, Adelaide, West Coast, Hawthorn, and North. Now, we should say, from when we did our West Coast analysis until now, there's been some breaking news that Jack Darling's had a jab. So maybe that helps them and it takes them to one more win.
Yeah.
Just outside the bottom 4 for me. It doesn't improve them by miles.
Yeah.
And I don't think it takes them up to 9 or 10 wins.
Yeah.
So I still think they hover in that bottom 6.
And Ben King has re-signed the Gold Coast. Amazing news for the club.
It's huge news. I think it's a big arrow saying we're pointing in the right direction.
Yeah. Albeit he's not going to play, as we know.
No, but it helps Stewie Dew keep his job.
Yeah.
I would have thought.
Yes. Yeah. I'm going to go out on a limb here. I'm going to swap a few spots there on our ladder.
All right, go for it.
I think Adelaide will finish bottom. Dead bottom.
Fair enough. Well, we've got them on 6 wins and we're saying Hawthorn and North are on about 5.
Yeah.
So we'll give Adelaide the 5 wins and then down on percentage?
Yes. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. Because if Taylor Walker's not performing, I don't know where their goals are coming from. I really don't. I don't think Thrillthorpe's ready to, kick 30, 35, 40 goals. Mm-hmm. Not quite yet. And Fogarty, we've gone through Fogarty. It's just not worked. So I just don't know. If Tex isn't performing, I don't know where their goals are coming from. So that will really affect their percentage. And they're going to leak shitloads of goals. But overall, Bob, that ladder, I'm happy with that. I think it's a really realistic ladder.
We'll probably look really foolish by the end of the year.
Yeah,
but
as we
right
always
now,
do with ladder predictions.
Yeah, at this point in time, I'm pretty comfortable with it. And, the big news is that Melbourne should have the most wins. Surprise, surprise.
Yep.
The Dogs into the top 4. The Cats definitely outside of it. Sydney to drop up to 5 wins off their performance last year.
Yep.
And West Coast to drop maybe 4 wins off their performance last year.
Yeah.
So these aren't huge revelations. The one that I think people will disagree with a lot is looking at the fact that we have Gold Coast to increase the amount of wins they had last year without Ben King. But they are a team I'm excited to watch this year.
Yeah, I can't wait. Anyway, that's a wrap, Bob. With the first pod back after a long COVID layoff, I think life's getting back to normal, and you and I heading to the G. How exciting is that?
Oh,
Round 1,
mate.
Essendon Geelong. It'll be the end, probably the end of your friendship with my beautiful partner, Ali, but it's been a good ride.
Friendship?
Oh, you dirty bastard. But anyway, it's been an absolute pleasure, Bob. Looking forward to the season ahead. Can't wait to get stuck in to AFL football again. And, bring it on. Thanks for listening, everybody, and stay tuned for more.